Okay, so in today's video, I am going to be talking about how you can scout another team when it comes to youth basketball. This can work for rep basketball here in Canada, AAU basketball in the States, or even high school and middle school basketball. Basically, I always like to know what I'm going up against. I have a network of coaches who I ask to say, hey, I've never played this team before. What do they play like? Do you know? And of course, some coaches will come back and say yes. Usually they are right side heavy. They'll always try to go to the right side. So if you try to force them left, you can actually kind of get an idea as to how you can really try to stop their offense. Things like that. Because sometimes point guards will have a tendency, especially in a motion offense that can be ran on either side, they'll always go to one side. Generally, they're right hand because they're right-handed, or maybe left hand because they're left-handed, because they can get that one hand pass through. There's so many different tendencies that every single team runs that I came up with almost a foolproof scouting handbook that I use myself over the past couple of years. And that is this right here. You can actually print it out, like I have here. You can print it out, or you can basically download it and put it onto your iPad. You can obviously purchase this down in the description below. However, some of the things that I really like to incorporate into my notes is this. On this first page, I have just half courts. And what I do here is I will write down what the other team is running. So if they're running like a motion offense, I can write down exactly what they're doing. If they're running set plays, I can see what they're exactly doing. And while this may not be helpful when it comes to the player aspect, this is actually helpful so that we understand maybe how many zone offenses that they're running versus how many man offenses that they are running. Because if they're only running one man offense and 4 zone offenses, well then maybe we can kind of flip the script on them and run some man-to-man defenses because they have less offenses to basically pull back on or to rely back on. And because of that, then we can actually scout out and have basically a better chance of beating them. On the second page, I have offensive strengths and weaknesses. So maybe the strengths are they're getting a ton of offensive rebounds. This team that they're playing is just the same height as them, but they're getting a ton of offensive rebounds. Why? Well, they're boxing out. They're actively looking to box out, or they're smart and they're going to the opposite side as to where the shot's being taken from. And then you can even add different notes as to, hey, this is a very 3-point heavy team. They're jacking up 3-point shots. They've taken 16 threes in the first half alone, and they took another 20 threes in the second half. They're a very 3-point heavy team, and they're not hitting a lot of them. Or you could say, and they're hitting a ton of them, so maybe we need to really guard them up top, really guard them close, and force them to try to drive because maybe they're not a very good team when it comes to driving to the basket. And then when it comes to the other basketball course that we have here, it comes down to the defense. What type of defenses are they running? Are they running a zone defense all the time? Are they never getting out of a 2-3 zone? In that 2-3 zone, are they defending the point, or are they just allowing that to stay open and basically leaving a massive gap up the middle that the other team may not be really utilizing to be able to drive down the middle? The idea is to try to close off the middle in a 2-3 so that that doesn't happen. So if you can see a weakness in their zone, you can exploit it when you play against them. So understanding their defenses is very useful. And then on top of that, we even have the ability to write down their full court press. What are they running on a full court press? Is it a very good full court press? Can it be useful to basically not press them at all? Because I know with my team, at the high school level that I coach, when we're pressed, we beat it almost every single time. That forces the other team to not press us. So if I'm watching a game and I say, wow, that team was just pressed 8 possessions in a row, and they beat it 8 out of 8 times, and they beat it easily, and they had maybe a man advantage on the other end because they were able to beat it so well, maybe we should not press this team. Maybe we should try a half-court press instead. See what happens. And then you can kind of work your strategy around that. And then I also have pages for the individual players. Now, I personally only put enough room for 10 players because most teams, at least at the levels that I coach at, which is the high school level and the elite AAU level, most teams don't go past 10 players. They don't go past 10 players deep. So why do I need to worry about the 11th and 12th man off the bench if that kid or that player may only get a minute or two? So because of that, I don't worry about the deeper bench. I really only worry about the starters and maybe the first 2 or 3 players off the bench. Those are the most deadly in most cases. And at that point, I can say, well, number 11, for example, number 11 is a player who likes to play bully ball. I haven't seen him be able to shoot yet in this game, or this game at all, maybe. Maybe he's been 0 for 4 from the three-point line. And he plays bully ball. So let's put my center, my biggest guy, on that guy so that when he does drive, he has a bigger guy to try to guard him instead of having maybe at the high school level as an example, having a 6-foot guard who plays bully ball, similar to myself when I used to play, and then basically saying, well, you're not going to be able to bully around my point guard. I'm going to stick my 6'5" center on you. Good luck trying to beat him. And at that point, we may have just nullified his ability, or that player's ability, to be able to score. I'll give you another example. My high school, when I played, we played against a friend of mine who is one of the top three-point shooters to ever come from Canada. And his name is Brady Heslip, and we kept him low scoring. I think we only kept him to a basket or two in the entire game. And how we did that was we stuck a 6'4" skinny guard on him because he was a deadly knockdown three-point shooter who was coming off of screens quite often. So we were able to stick a skinny tall guard on him to fight through and to kind of squeeze through those screens so that he was unable to get any shots up. So there's another example as to how you can scout out another team, is to say, well, that's a really good shooter. He doesn't have as fast a feet, or he isn't as fast as our fastest player who may be taller than him. Well, let's stick our tall, fast guy on him to try and nullify his ability to even shoot the three. So there's ways around being able to beat teams, whether or not they have a good player or not. And maybe if they have a good team strategy, that you can still beat them. I hope that this video has helped you. Make sure to go check out my Ultimate Scouting Handbook down in the description below, and I'll see you guys again next time.